going on as a matter of fact. And so, ladies and gentlemen, with him upstanding, without us taking too much of our time, we would like to kick off the event officially because, like it said, the governor is the man who always keeps on time. And I'm impressed because I think the MO has been demonstrated here today. So, I'd like to call on the I Am team members as we are ready for the first stanza of the national anthem as a way for us to kick open today's event, which is the Nigerian Payment System Vision 2028 official unveiling. Over to you guys. Of the national anthem as a way for us to kick open today's event, which is the Nigerian Payment System Vision 2028 official unveiling. Over to you.
Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all and proud to serve our sovereign fatherland.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you for yourself because you are the architects of the new Nigerian economy. Please, can you put your hands together for yourselves? Thank you very much. The Nigerian Payment System Vision 2028 official unveiling is happening today with the theme Empowering People, Connecting Markets, Growing the Economy. We know that this journey has started quite from the year 2006, 2007, and then we basically saw how the central bank deemed it fit to unveil and launch the PSV 2020. We knew the story of how Nigerian financial digital economic space was, where we were basically cash dependent, and how much we saw so much in terms of the technology that was not able to drive financial inclusion. But today we witness the fact that when PSV 2020 actually happened, we saw so much where we recognized and registered different milestones like the BVN we know today, the magic of NIMS instant payment, the rise of POS terminals, and of course, the quiet revolution in digital payments. And today, seated in the hall, we have unicorns who obviously had leveraged on that innovation in terms of policy and framework the central bank brought about to create an economy that has put Nigeria on the global map. This present administration, as a matter of fact, has a vision of driving Nigeria towards a $1 trillion economy. Oftentimes people say, is this achievable? How are we going to be able to blend our monetary and fiscal policy framework to be able to create those opportunities that will enable operators like yourself actually drive that particular campaign? And the journey actually, as a matter of fact, went through where we see the birth of great companies. We have over 400 fintechs. We have banks that has actually, as a matter of fact, diversified towards the PSB. And all of these has been from the level and the basis and the foundation of the policy direction of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And so we are so much more honored to see the fact that the future itself is going to offer so many wonderful opportunities. How ready are we to leverage on AI, just as we did when we actually leveraged on big data? And this is part of the essence of why these guidelines within the different thematic areas that has been encapsulated in the Nigerian Payment System Vision 2028 document, which is going to be unveiled today, will help us understand and see. And so organizations like yourself that has taken advantage of that, and CBN that has actually played a critical role, not just as a regulator, but as an enabler of profitability. And so I want to say a big thank you to every single one of us that are seated here. One more time, please, can we put our hands together for the Central Bank of Nigeria for driving a vision that has put this country on a wonderful, wonderful map. I have the singular honor of being your anchor man. My name is Stephen Ipalobo-Lawson. Mr. Governor, we want to say a big thank you. And I know empowering people goes beyond policy. Connecting markets has to do with reality on ground. And of course, growing the economy is a daunting task. One person can't do it all. It has to be a collaborative effort. And CBN has deemed it fit today to make sure that those who are present here and those who are joining us online, administrations are how we've been able to come up with different of these policies that has helped us to address interest rates, that has helped us to address the foreign exchange, and has created so much where even though the challenges are there, we know that life has to be one we must confront. So ideas, innovation must come to be. And so I want to say a big thank you and welcome Mr. Governor. We have here with you your deputy governors. I would like to recognize them before I establish the protocol. We have Dr. Mohammed Sani Abdullahi, Deputy Governor, Corporate Services. Please, can you put your hands together for him? You're welcome, sir. We're going to be listening to your opening remark later on in the day. And Mr. Philip Ikeazo, Deputy Governor, Economic Policy, who has always been in several events that have had the privilege of anchoring. Please put your hands together for him. It's good to see you, sir. And Miss Usoro, Deputy Governor Operations, I understand will be joining us. And then we have Mr. Lamido Abubakar Yuguda, the Deputy Governor for Financial System Stability. Please put your hands together for him. And then I will go in with one more name who is sitting on that table as soon as I have that. And so, sir, we know that this document is a collaborative effort. We know that CBN didn't just take this as a one Lone Ranger affair. There were MDAs who actually partnered to make sure this happened. NDIC, SEC, NITDA, NCC, NOTAB, and the NIMSI. And this has come to define not just our digital identity, it has opened up those opportunities that we need as a people to address one of those narratives, which is being the poverty capital of the world. And we know that with this policy and this framework that is going to be unveiled today, towards the target of that vision, we can be sure that over 100 million Nigerians will be pulled out from that poverty net. And of course, we have the CBN to thank for that. Please, can we put our hands together for them for that reason? And so, as a way of establishing a protocol, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to recognize the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso. Please put your hands together one more time for him. He is our guest in the house, as well as a host, a distinguished man who definitely keeps to time. I was told, sir, that you are a man, when you say 10, 20, you keep to that time. I want to say a big thank you. In Lagos, we can't walk from your office down here. But here in Abuja is a seamless affair. And I say that for the first time, I want to say a big thank you to your Payment System Policy Department under the director of Mr. Musa Jimo for this privilege. And I want to say a big thank you. And of course, the deputy governors in the house, please put your hands together for them. For the first time, I want to say a big thank you to heads of MDAs and parastatals seated here. Please put your hands together for them. Mr. Musa Jimo for this privilege. Directors of the CBN seated here, ladies and gentlemen. Please, can you put your hands together for each one of them? Heads of MDAs. We also have the MDs and CEOs of banks, of fintech, of unicorns, all seated here in our midst, of payment service providers, enablers. Please put your hands together for every single one of them. Quite too numerous for me to mention. And this doesn't happen without our development partners also in the house. Please, can we put our hands together for them? The more you clap, the more money you have in your account by the end of 2 p.m. today. All right, but please do not take my statement to the bank. All right, and then we have the members of the fourth estate of the realm who will help all to capture a lot of these images and stories. And secondly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big welcome to you. In my own business, oftentimes we talk for a living, but I tell people I'm not here to talk. Some of you who have witnessed the events that I anchor, you understand that time is of the essence. You are very busy individuals, and you're not here to listen to me. But before I go ahead, I would like to recognize Dr. Aminu Maida, the EVC of NCC in the house. Please put your hands together for him. You're welcome, sir. Great. NCC has done so well. It looks like the regulators themselves have had a meeting that Nigeria must succeed, and that is part of the essence of what we are doing here. And we're hoping, sir, perhaps you will make it possible for data and credit to be like ₦1 per piece, so that we are able to do as much in terms of transaction. Interoperability has happened. We need to do cross-border transactions as well. But you see, this is a testament of what collaboration is about. The CBN understands that it is not going to take a position of a lord over subject. No. As a matter of fact, when I was called to anchor the event, I asked myself, how was the process? Was it that the ears were listened to, or was it that words were taken into themselves? And people said, no, there is actually a working group that made that happen. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you and welcome also to the working group that has made this a huge success. Like I said earlier on, today's event is going to be swift. We don't want to take too much of your time. We understand that the governor also has some other engagement. And as a way of kicking off the event officially, I'm so much more honored to to invite to give the welcome address a man who rose through the rank, who was once Director Payment System Management Department, Director Capacity Development Department, and presently a distinguished financial service executive who is now the Director of Payment System Policy Department, who went to the best school in Nigeria, Obafemi Awolowo University. That was also my university. If you did not go to that university, except from the university the governor went to, sir. That one is in the class of his own, you know. But Mr. Musa Jimoh, actually led the trail for us, and I call him Alhaji MJ. Please put your hands together for Mr. Musa Jimoh as he comes in to give the welcome address. You know, but Mr. Musa Jimoh, actually led the trail for us. And I call him Alhaji MJ. Please put your hands together for Mr. Musa Jimoh as he comes in to give the welcome address.
I don't know how to even start the welcome address. Looking at the caliber of people that have attended today, have taken their time. This is just on few days. Governor, sir, after Salah, they have all. I don't know how to even start. I'm full of emotion. I don't even know what to say. Looking at the caliber of people that have attended today, have taken their time. This is just on few days. Again, I'll repeat it. And they have all made any event that you show up, I'm full event. Full of emotion. I don't even know what to say. Governor, again, I'll repeat it. So I know that Payment System Vision 2028 is already a success. I want to welcome every one of you here this morning for honoring our invite to grace the occasion of unveiling the Payment System Vision 2028. I want to welcome Governor, the Deputy Governors, the Executive Vice Chairman, NCC, DG Sec, major stakeholders, CEOs of bank, fintech associations, the Governor, friends of the industry, stakeholders, my team, the CBN team that made this happen. Major stakeholders, CEOs of bank, fintech associations, friends of the here today we are here to unveil a 3-year strategy. CBN team that made this. It all started from 2007 when the central bank decided to set up a roadmap to modernize the payment system. Here today we had a time in this country where there were no ATMs, there were no POS terminals. In fact, nobody was using card; everything was cash. When the central bank decided, so in 2007, the central bank sent a 10-year roadmap to modernize the payment system, and it was called the Payment System Vision 2020. Incidentally, in 2010, 2011, the central bank represented Nigeria in Mexico at a global policy forum where we made a commitment to promote financial inclusion, to pull out from people from the poverty level that we have seen, to make their lives better. And so we made a commitment to raise the number of people who have access to financial services by the year 2020 to about 80%. It's a work in progress, we would have said. Fast forward to this time around, a lot of things have changed. The environment has changed, technology has changed, people have changed. So a lot of very creative, very efficient payment services were brought in. Central bank went ahead and licensed a lot of fintechs to drive these innovative ideas. When we committed to drive financial inclusion in 2011, there were 3 major deterrents that we sensed, that we said, unless we remove these 3 major deterrents, we're not going to achieve it. Number 1 was cost of financial services. It was very expensive to put your money in a bank. You put your money in a bank, you walk away, you come back, the money is gone. Courtesy charges. And so a lot of people prefer to keep their money under their pillow and spend their cash. And we have always said it, that the fastest payment system you ever see is cash, because there is no clearing. I give you your money, you give me my goods. The second one was nearness to financial touch points. We didn't have banks, we didn't have agent network, we didn't have all of that within the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. So sometimes it would take some people to travel from their villages to the marketplace for them to be able to access financial services. So they would prefer to stay where they are and deal with cash. The third one was the complexity of having access to banking services. We had a situation in these countries, the bank CEO school attests to that, where if you didn't have a verifiable and valid international passport or a driver's license, nobody will accept any identification document to enroll you into the banking system. All of that culminated into what pushed away people from financial services. And what CBN did, I just need to speed up to the time we are in now. What central bank did was to set out policies that will eliminate all these bottlenecks. And today, with your phone, you don't need to have a driver's license, you don't need to have an international passport. With your phone, you can open a bank account, right? We discovered that the cost of financial services was actually coming from the banks. And what was creating those overheads? Cost of processing cash. So we came out with a cashless policy for the adoption of electronic form of payment and taper down on cash payment so that the cost of cash processing will reduce and thereby the cost of financial services will also come down. So we went ahead with cashless policy in 2012. The last one, which has to do with the nearness to financial touch points, because there are no digital bank branches in the nooks and crannies of this country. What did we do? We came out with the agent banking. With about 50,000 agents then, today, we are proud to announce that we have over 2 million agents spread across the country. These are not just agents. I don't just see them as agents. I see them as business owners, people that have been employed to engage in legal businesses. So it's a lot of gain for the country.
Presented you at that event where we talked about the importance of regulatory technology and how that itself can drive this whole campaign of the $1 trillion economy. In Nigeria, oftentimes people hear these things as buzzwords, but if we go beyond the theory, we know the practicality actually is there to register. And today we are seated in this hall with unicorns, individuals, visionaries, entrepreneurs who actually took that initial framework, converted it into what we are today celebrating. And these are gentlemen that I hold in high regard, and men who have distinguished themselves, as well as women who has done that well. So, sir, I think the CBN deserves another applause for seeing the fact that they have promoted what we know as inclusive prosperity. It's not the one that some few people are chopping, the other people are languishing. Everybody looks like they are chopping. If you look in the hall right now, we all look very well fed, and that's the important reason why we want to take that away from here to the bigger population so that Nigeria can be indeed a very celebrated and very honored country that we have the destiny to actually express. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there are better ways to understand this image through video, and we are living in a digital age. And so we are going to, at this point, show what the journey has been so far. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I call on my technical team, please let us have the PSV 2028 video titled The Journey So Far.
Payments are the lifeblood of every modern economy. They power commerce, connect people and businesses, and enable governments to deliver services efficiently. From bustling cities to rural communities, payments drive trust, opportunity, and everyday life. As technology reshapes how value moves across the world, Nigeria stands at the pivotal moment in the evolution of its payment system. This is a moment defined by deliberate progress, shared responsibility, and strategic foresight. This is the journey of the Nigeria Payment System Vision 2028.
Over the past decade, Nigeria's payments ecosystem has emerged as one of the most dynamic globally, driving real-time payments, rapid digital adoption, and fintech-led innovation.
Nigeria's journey toward a modern payments ecosystem did not begin today. It has been shaped by decades of reform, innovation, and collaboration.
The Nigeria Payment Systems Vision 2028 represents a significant milestone
in our ongoing effort to modernize and strengthen Nigeria's payments and financial ecosystem. Building on the strong foundation laid by the earlier Vision 2025, this vision reaffirms our commitment to a payment system that is resilient, inclusive, innovative, and globally competitive.
In the early 2000s, the Central Bank of Nigeria initiated key payment system reforms to reduce reliance on cash and improve transaction efficiency. These early efforts introduced electronic banking, strengthened regulatory oversight, and laid the foundation for shared national payment infrastructure.
I think the biggest change is that Nigeria did all the things that needed to be done to modernize the payment system and to also encourage the adoption of electronic form of payment in the country. Fast forward to 2026, we had the 2000 Payment System Vision 2025, which just ended, and we are setting another 3-year strategy for the development of our payment system.
Extensive stakeholder engagements followed, bringing together banks, payment service providers, fintechs, regulators, government agencies, and development partners. These consultations laid the groundwork for a refreshed, forward-looking strategy.
We view the Central Bank of Nigeria's Payment Service Vision 2028 not merely as a policy direction, but as a defining blueprint for Nigeria's economic future, one in which digital payments become the invisible infrastructure that powers inclusion, productivity, and prosperity at scale.
In 2025, this collective effort culminated in the approval of the Nigeria Payment System Vision 2028, a blueprint designed to guide the next phase of Nigeria's payments transformation. The vision of PSV 2028 is clear: to build a secure, inclusive, innovative, interoperable payments ecosystem that supports Nigeria's economic development and integrates seamlessly with regional and global financial markets. The vision is driven by key objectives. Together, these objectives position payments as a catalyst for national development.
Anchored on 6 guiding principles: interoperability.
Payments. This pillar promotes the responsible adoption of emerging technologies such as open banking, artificial intelligence, digital identity, central bank digital currency, and regulated digital assets. Nigeria's economy does not stop at its borders. This pillar enhances cross-border payments, making them faster, cheaper, and more transparent, while aligning with ECOWAS, the AFCFTA, and the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. A modern payment system must be secure and resilient. This pillar strengthens regulatory oversight, cybersecurity, fraud prevention, and interagency collaboration. PSV 2028 is not just a policy.
It's for fiber elects in Ghana. So I expect to see all those kind of things.
The central bank has played a very significant role in building what we have today, not only in creating those policies that at least give us the framework and the level playing field in certain ways to achieve the goals that we have, but also creating a structure that allows us to be specific about where we want to go, right? Building from that payment system vision 2020 to 2025, and now we are charged with 2028, where we must execute deeply and achieve great things.
The launch of the Nigeria Payment System Vision 2028 marks a defining moment in the nation's digital journey. It represents readiness to innovate responsibly, to protect consumers, to strengthen trust, and to build a payments ecosystem that supports Nigeria's economic future. From reform to innovation, from access to trust, from ambition to action. Nigeria Payments System Vision 2028, building a secure, inclusive, and future-ready payments ecosystem powering Nigeria's digital future.
Please, let's put our hands together for this wonderful. I didn't want it to end. And then I was looking for myself in the image because I know I saw the governor, I saw the chairman of CB, I saw Mr. Abubakar, and then I didn't see him. Okay, Oga Musa, I saw you. I was not consulted for this video. Okay, because MCs too have a role to play. You know, it's important because we tell these stories, and that's one of the essence of why those narratives are important. If you don't tell your story, nobody's going to do that well enough as you will do that. One more time, can you put your hands together for the PSP department for this wonderful video that has given us an idea of what we're expecting. You know, before I get into trouble, I know that he has been an individual that I've held in high regard, and is what the Yorubas we call an egbon. He's a man who I've had the privilege of having on my show, who had looked at a lot in terms of security, and we will know exactly what so much in terms of the innovations that is happening within that space. He's seated here, even though I pretended I didn't see him because he's my elder brother. I would like to recognize the DG of SEC, Dr. Emomotimi Agama. Please, can you put your hands together for him? You're welcome, sir. It's good to see you, sir. It's interesting that we have you there, we have NCC there, we also have other MDAs and parastatals that have worked together on this particular framework, which is going to be the guide to the digital future that we are all impatient to get into. And we know it's possible if we have unicorns that have achieved that, just leveraging on some of those infrastructure, even though those infrastructures seem not to have measured up to what we might think to be the best. We're able to still achieve this so much. So imagine when the PSV 2028 framework is now totally fully implemented. That means that wealth will be definitely built all across the country. And so I want to say a big thank you for the CBN for seeing it proper to also have this as a collaborative effort. But for me, one of the words that pops out is trust, because trust is an asset that will definitely ensure that we have a guaranteed, secured digital economy that will be beneficial for the whole populace. And so, ladies and gentlemen, my next speaker is a man who is not new to the corridor of powers. He was a senior special assistant to the president on MDGs, and a man who rose through the rank, as a matter of fact, being a former commissioner for economic planning and budget in one of the leading states in this country. He's a man who is a PhD holder and has distinguished himself in his field. I should not continue. He went to one of the best schools, Ahmadu Bello University. Please put your hands together for the Deputy Governor, Dr. Mohammed Sani Abdullahi. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, my colleagues, the Deputy Governors of the bank. As the MC has mentioned, this has been a very collaborative process. We started, I believe, at the end of 2024 to draft this document, and it's taken this long mainly because we did try to include as much as possible a lot of diverse opinions and thoughts on the direction of the strategy for payments in Nigeria. And so I'd like to still go ahead and mention a number of people who have contributed to this process, both externally to the CBN and internally. So I'll start again with the governor himself, who has really led the importance of this vision for us. My colleagues, the deputy governors, particularly DG Philip Ekiazo, who has also been a co-chair of the Payment Systems Committee. The EVC for NCC, my brother, Dr. Aminu Maida, has been a key contributor to this. The DG SEC, Dr. Emomotimi Agama, CEOs of banks, particularly those that are here, Abu Suleiman, the MD of Sterling, and the MD of EcoBank are here in person. The FinTech Association, and particularly its lead, Dr. Shegun Aina, Mr. Abubakar Minjibir from NSPN, and the African Network CEO, who's the former governor of Sierra Leone, and EFINA, of course, have all been part of this process. heads of ministries, departments, and agencies that are here, CEOs of banks and fintech companies, departmental directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria, led by Director Musa Jimo, who's also the doyen of CBN directors, development partners, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great pleasure to join you today at the launch of this Payment Systems Vision 2028, which is a strategic framework that will shape the future of payments, commerce, and economic interactions in Nigeria. As economies become increasingly digital and interconnected, the efficiency and at a scale across the Nigerian economy. The key priorities on this theme include modernizing national payment infrastructure on intra-African trade. By dismantling these barriers through PAPS and AFCFTA, this vision directly accelerates regional commerce and enhances export competitiveness. This shifts Nigeria from a passive participant in global finance into an active engine for continental economic integration. The fifth and last theme deals with regulation, risk management, and cybersecurity. No system scales without trust, and no trust exists without security. This theme addresses our most critical operational mandate. How do we safeguard the macroeconomy as it grows? The key priorities here will include the establishment of a National Payment Security Operations Center, deployment of SupTech and RegTech for real-time oversight, strengthening AML, CFT, and fraud response systems, and enhancing interagency coordination. The expected outcomes include stronger consumer and investor confidence, a resilient, secure payment ecosystem, reduced systemic risk, trust as a measurable and enforceable outcome. Trust is a foundational economic asset. Capital flows, investment scales, and consumer markets thrive only when confidence in underlying architecture is absolute. A secure ecosystem protects financial stability and insulates the broader economy from systemic shocks, keeping the entire vision credible and stable. Overall, and in summary, these 5 themes are entirely interdependent. Infrastructure enables inclusion, inclusion broadens market participation, participation drives adoption, adoption fuels innovation, innovation expands trade and investment, global integration demands robust regulation. So this Payment Systems Vision 2028 is a singular, coherent national architecture that has been designed to accelerate how money flows, how businesses interact, how trade expands, and how sustainable macroeconomic growth is sustained. For the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the successful execution of this vision delivers a high-capacity payment ecosystem built to support an expanding digital economy at scale. Secondly, seamless participation of MSMEs in both domestic and cross-border trade, maximum cost efficiency, and reduced transaction overhead across all sectors, unmatched competitiveness for Nigerian businesses within African and global markets, and accelerated financial formalization, digital entrepreneurship, and e-commerce. Ultimately, the success metric of this vision will not just be the speed of the transaction, but its tangible contribution to trade expansion, to investment flows, to job creation, and to long-term national prosperity. Governor, ladies and gentlemen, the PSV 2028, as we have said, is not merely a policy document. It is a call to collective action and a shared commitment to building the infrastructure of Nigeria's economic future. The themes we have outlined today are not final destinations. They are strategic building blocks of a modern, inclusive, and globally connected economy. Their ultimate success will depend not on the strength of our vision, but on the precision of our execution and the depth of our collaboration. As we look ahead, we must recognize that efficient payment systems are no longer back-end financial utilities. They are the primary enablers of continental trade, capital investment, and systemic trust. They connect our MSMEs to new markets, facilitate frictionless cross-border commerce, and radically enhance Nigeria's competitiveness in a digital global economy. The true value of this vision will therefore be measured not by the speed of the transaction, but its tangible contribution to productivity, to job creation, and to shared national prosperity. In closing, I encourage every stakeholder represented here today to engage not as passive observers, but as active co-architects in bringing this vision to life. If we execute this framework with absolute purpose, with institutional discipline, Nigeria will do more than just build Africa's most advanced payment ecosystem. We will establish the ultimate platform for regional integration, for trade expansion, and sustained macroeconomic growth. The future we seek is entirely within reach, and the responsibility to build it rests with all of us. I thank you for your attention, and I wish our panelists and participants a highly productive and insightful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Deputy Governor, Dr. Abdullahi. You didn't allow me to read the full profile. I can understand that, because you've shared with us the importance of what we're doing here, not as passive participants, but it's a verb, active players in this industry. And I'm glad that you mentioned trust as a major tangible asset that we must leverage on. What you can measure, you obviously cannot improve on. But I know that there's a history and there's a story before the PSV 2028, and the stories over the years has been one that has been positive. So I have no doubt that the individual seated here will definitely come on the bandwagon and push so that we can get to a place where we can share that prosperity that is obviously inclusive. And before I forget, the Deputy Governor went to one of the best schools, Ahmadu Bello University. Please put your hands together for him. Okay. You know, there are schools in that alignment, but of course, Governor's School is on the higher level, so that I don't get into trouble. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the areas that I'm very passionate about, and that has to do with the cross-fertilization of ideas and concepts. The men and women that are going to be sitting on this panel are distinguished in their right. And if the governor agrees for us to have a Q&A session, obviously we are going to have that open up. But first, this particular panel sessions is one that I have individuals that are quite familiar with, and I've followed them over the years and so much of what they have done. And before I go ahead, I want to quickly recognize the chairman and board of trustee of FinTech NGR, Dr. Segun Ayino, OFR. Please, can you put your hands together for him? Sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your patronage and your support. I've had the privilege of anchoring the NFW several years, and you are a man that I look very much to, and you always look younger, sir. It must have a thing to do with PSV 2025 or 2020. You have obviously on tax, sir. And of course, is a man who is distinguished in this field. And of course, Dr. Abubakar Minjibi, I hope I got it right, the MD NSPN is in the house. Please, can you put your hands together for him? We recognize you, sir. We know collaboration is one of the high points of which this framework actually has anchored. And then one of the person I will call my personal person, she's the CEO from Efina, Mrs. Foyisholami Akinjayeju. Are you in the house, ma? I know that, yes. Ekabama, great. It's good to see you. Efina has always been a client, and of course, I've played a major role in terms of research. A lot of the data we've leveraged on in the industry obviously has been part of what the contribution has been. I'm very sure you're proud to see what is happening here today, and we're looking forward to those other engagements as one of our development partners. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great honor to invite the moderator of this panel session. He's a man who is an embodiment of excellence, of talent, of intelligence, a passionate advocate for sustainability and inclusive growth. He leads initiatives that drives impact across key sectors, health, education, agriculture, renewable transformation, and very much more. And holds a degree from the University of Abuja, one of Nigeria's best universities. Please, can you put your hands together for Mr. Abubakar Sulaiman, the MDC of Sterling Bank, the one customer bank, as he comes up to take his seat. We'll be moderating this session. I know he's more than qualified to do this. So you're in the middle row so that you can sit here. No, here. Yes. Great. Thank you very much, sir. It's always good to see you. You are used to this, and that works. I always follow a lot of his contribution in the FinTech 100 group. This is a man who has so much. So I'm trusting you, sir. We've been talking about trust to manage my time so that we don't keep the central bank governor seated for too long. And then to join him on the panel are individuals that are distinguished in their own rights. I have a man who serves as the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Technology Officer at OP, one of our unicorns. A man who is so very much passionate, he has demonstrated leadership in that regards as well as technology. Please put your hands together for Mr. Dotun Daniel Adekunle as he comes up to take his seat. It's great to see you again, sir. This is a very official forum, so I'm not going to go beyond that. So your seat is at the end there. You want to give a handshake to the moderator. That is proper. And certainly, ladies and gentlemen, the panel is obviously forming. And I know that I have the person seated next there to be, this is my Oga at the top. Because under his leadership, his organization that he runs has delivered landmark industry initiatives that has reshaped Nigeria's payment ecosystem, including National Payment Stack, NPS, which is Nigeria's upgraded digital payment backbone. He has done so much well in terms of also contactless payment platform, Afrigo domestic card scheme, and one that I'm very much excited about is the centralized fraud management system. I'm talking about no other person than the MDC of NIMS, Mr. Premier. I will please put your hands together for him. The last time I saw him was in Lagos at the investiture of the first female president of the Nigerian Institute of Credit Administration, Chartered. Thank you so very much. It's good to see you, sir. And you were here quite early, and I'm very much thankful that you're joining us. So you're sitting beside Mr. Dotun. Why I know that my next speaker is going to be joining us is a young founder and CEO, a man who is a leading innovator in the African fintech space, and has a great passion in creating financial happiness and a track record of groundbreaking contributions in financial technology in Africa. As a matter of fact, of recent, he made a statement that went viral, and people wondered what exactly was it all about. Perhaps he might have another opportunity to help address that, especially when it has to do with creating opportunities widespread. That is no other person than the founder and CEO of MoneyPoint Nigeria, Mr. Tosin Olorunda. Kabosa. Okay, thank you. Tosin, it's good to see you. It's been quite a while that we've seen so much that has been happening, and Tosin will be taking up a seat there so that we have, no, Tosin, this is you here. Yes, good. And ladies and gentlemen, the last but not the least is a man that I call my Egbon. We all went to Unity School, and each time I look at him, I wonder, does it have to do with the fact that you are exposed to digital currency, digital elements and data that makes you look ageless? And I wondered how that spans. And I'm talking about no other person than the Managing Director, Remita, Mr. Deremi Atonda. Please put your hands together for him. Put your hands together for him, pardon me. Emma Binu, I'm not taking your shine. I mean, Deremi always looks young. I don't know how he does it, but I'm going to have to take some of those lessons from you. And you know, when I said that the last but not the least, Gang came up to me and said, Stephen, no. I said, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm bringing the best at this particular point in time, because I wondered why we have a panel full of men. And you and I know that financial inclusion must include the women. Am I right or am I not right? And though this is a woman that I'm very proud to be associated with, and I know that the organization which she leads presently is one that I witness what succession plan is about. I know our former boss, Mrs. Ronke Kuye, which happens to be one of the founding members of CB, of which we have the chairman seated here and his vice also, is one that we've witnessed how agent banking, and of course agency banking, has come to help us tell a great story. Distinguished in all our rights, a seasoned business executive and financial service leader. Please, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mrs. Uche Uzoebo, the MD CEO of Shared Agent Network Expansion Facility Limited, SANEF, as she comes to take a seat. And that is why I called her last. No, you go through that way, ma, so that they know that you are powerful. You are balancing these powerful men in the middle, and that makes it all of engaging. And that is why we have programs for the women, because we understand that it's both inclusive and it helps us to be able to drive a shared prosperity for the future. So, Mr. Suleiman, at this point, I'm going to be handing over to you. You and I are going to connect, so I'll be down there when the time is running out. We will get engaged to you. And sir, if you so much please, after the panel, we might take a Q&A. If not, we'll just go into the next section of the event. So, ladies and gentlemen, over to our moderator. Please put your hands together for this wonderful, wonderful, powerful panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess I should start by saying when I was asked to moderate this event, I assumed that the biggest dragon in the room would be Musa Jimoh. So I prepared a lot of jokes. But now that I'm sitting here in front of the most powerful regulators this country has to offer, I think all of my jokes have just disappeared. And just like Musa, I saw that when he first got on the stage, he was stammering. He couldn't get himself together. I don't think it was just because the amazing vision has come to life. I think it is just the sheer presence of the people here. And I think the media should take note of this. We'll look back one day and see this is what it looked like when regulators work together to deliver the kind of vision that we hope for. It's not done on the pages of newspaper. It is the work that goes on behind, but it's also on days like this when they leave everything behind to support each other. So thank you very much. I'm truly proud. I try to summarize the Deputy Governor's speech. And a couple of things stand out for me. He said, this is not going to be determined by the quality of our vision, but by execution. And so, my panelists, let's remember what we are hoping to take out of here are things that will support us with execution. I think this vision is as good as it's going to get, because most vision are living documents that will improve with time. I have been lucky to have done most of my banking in a period of amazing transformation. When I started, we cleared checks in 7 days if you are very fast. Usually it was 14 days and a couple of other things that most people, the younger people in this room, will not believe was possible. I would remember having to put a diskette, those of you who understand what that is, in my pocket, and I climbed a motorbike and ride to the central bank so that my transaction for the day will be processed. That's the world that we're born into. And I'm not that old. All of this has happened in the life of our payment service vision. So I want to thank the regulator and everyone who has played a part in this. And I'm going to start with a question that hopefully will open up the discussion. Premier, I want you to have a go at this. As we look towards PSV 2028, how do we collectively ensure that innovation in Nigeria is not just commercially successful, but truly improves inclusion? Include how we improve trust, and how the everyday participation in economic activities can grow at scale. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, Governor and the Deputy Governors and all distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here, and I want to congratulate Director Musa and the entire CBN team for putting this together. I think I've been in the industry for about 34 years now, and I've seen, he was talking about running with a diskette on a bike. I carried a clearing box on my head at the bridge in Tinubu Square and ran into CBN because the door will be locked at a certain time. So if you are not in, you are out, and you can't explain to your bank that your checks were out. So a lot has really happened significantly in the industry. And to be honest, I feel very emotional because if you see the journey from where it started from to where we are as a country, and I've said we don't sing our song enough as a nation and even as a central bank and as banks. So I want to say kudos to the Central Bank of Nigeria and all those who have worked tirelessly to get this done. So when you talk about commercial viability or developmental viability, a lot is required to get this done. I'm very passionate about digital payment, extremely very passionate, and I have seen a lot that has been done, put together. And again, I always refer to the central bank, not because they are here. I say this across the world when I have to speak. One unique thing we have is the BVN. And that BVN, I think a lot of people still study what we have done with it. It's very unique. But now, I also think we need to be careful when we are talking about commercial viability. Is it commercial viability or developmental viability we should focus on? The financial inclusion, I'm very passionate about it. And you find out that, like everything has been said today, what we are doing here today, technology is just 20% of this vision. We can put the best technology in place, but without the 80% of execution and resource and everything, it will fail. So for me, I think to achieve that, one of the things we must put in place, I'm very happy that the EVC of NCC is here. We worked together, we made plans together of how to revolutionize the whole country. He's smiling at me because he's owing me a lot of things. I mean, not me, the nation in terms of revolution. One of the things I'll be speaking today is about the inclusiveness of that, of these developments and this innovation. I strongly believe that a lot of Nigerians are still excluded. Last week, somebody asked me a question and said, what do you think about the USSD? We've just, by the way, the NPS, we have started a control pilot transaction on the national payment stack. I'm very happy to announce that last night at 11:59, we have the highest level of transaction, 153,000 transactions on the national payment stack. So I'm awaiting the director of PASSD and the governor's nod to open it up formally to the nation, but it is live. But I have some things that I think about to achieve this developmental inclusion is, how do I get the person, my auntie in the rural area, to be onboarded? I think I feel ashamed when we talk about USSD, and I'll tell you why. Countries like Rwanda, smaller countries, are onboarding smartphones at a very cheaper rate. There's somebody in the room, which I told Director PASSD and Director Jimo about, who is manufacturing local phones today at a significantly very cheap rate. Is here. And I think those kind of phones should be deployed. Not only deployed, we should phase out the feature phones. As part of this PSV 2028 is the phase out. If we don't, this will not succeed. There's a lot of things we are doing today that require constant management, either from NIMSI or from NIPS. Without smartphones, we cannot effectively deliver the vision which I've heard the governor speaking to since last year and at various events. So I think that's critical. Yeah. And then the next impact for the inclusion, and I always tell people, if you have 10,000 naira in your pocket and I'm going to make a transfer and pay 50 naira, 100 naira, that's no longer 10,000. As a Nigerian, I'll keep my 10,000 in the pocket. How do you deal with that? Also, I'm an advocate of zero-rated fee for transfers. That is one. And again, the EVC of NCC is here. I mean, I'm sorry I'm picking on you, but these are things that we've discussed in the past. I think financial data apps should be zeroized in terms of fees. I don't want to make a payment anywhere, and then I have no data to make that payment. When it has to do with finance, payment, it should be zeroized. It's already happening in some countries, and I think Nigeria needs to lead that. So with what we've built on the NPS and the onboarding, I think a lot more impact will be made from usage, accessibility, trust, and transparency across delivery process.
You've brought up three important things here. We need to get a smartphone in the hands of every Nigerian. We need to stop charging people for moving their money around. And when we use data to do this, we shouldn't have to pay for it. Or at least the end user shouldn't have to pay for it. Thank you very much. I like the summary of it. I gave you a bit more leeway. I'm not going to give Uche the same leeway so that we'll finish on time. Uche, I know that a lot of the startups and the apps that we have cater to the top 20%. Most of the features and the products are not for the bottom 80%. Where are we still innovating for only the 20% and not the 80%? Can you give me specific areas where we should be thinking about the 80% that have been excluded?
Thank you very much, Mr. Governor and Deputy Governor and all the stakeholders. And good morning. Congratulations to CBN and to all of us on this huge event. I mean, Nigeria is being put on the global map. Everyone is watching globally. We've always set the pace. So for me, coming from where I sit, of course, I will always advocate for the unbanked and the underbanked. Most times the focus is on us, the 20%. But for them, like MD of NIBS mentioned, they can't get these phones. Everyone is just running around. We're talking about cash in, cash out. We just want to take the money in and also take it out within ourselves. How are we bringing them into the financial service sector is still a problem. A lot of the underbanked, they want to bank with us. They want to come in, but most times I say this, that the system has failed them. So we still have a lot to do in that space. We need to empower them, because if we don't empower them with this, with the phones, they have available, affordable phones, and of course, transaction cost. Everything we're working on was going to roll back. If we say we're driving financial inclusion and the people we're driving it for don't even have access, or we're driving it with a high cost, then I would say we have failed as a country. So what we need to do is to look at how we can reduce the cost. Yes, Premier, you talked about the person manufacturing the phone in Nigeria. I met him. These are the kind of things we should look at. Let's see how we can bring it home, make the cost affordable, cheaper, even transaction cost. Why should a mama in the market want to transfer 5,000 naira and we're telling her to pay how much? 15 naira. She will say, no, I would rather put my money under the carpet, because they're even finding it difficult to save. How much money are they bringing? Are they even saving? How much money are they making for them to be paying all these transaction costs? Also, the infrastructure, we'll talk about infrastructure as well. We talk about availability of other services rather than cash in, cash out. We also have the bills payment that they can also pay. Again, why should all those charges be coming up? When we look at the transaction charges, it's actually enormous for the people in the underserved, because that's where we talk about economic inclusion. Where we make it difficult, then economic inclusion will not also happen. So for me, of course, very passionate about them. We need to provide, make everything affordable, if possible, free for them, or affordable to the cost where, you know, they can be able to operate. They are not going to buy those phones for, even 100,000 naira is a lot of money for them. They won't buy those smartphones at that cost.
So you envision a world where the top 20% somehow subsidize the bottom 80?
Absolutely.
Or where government somehow subsidize access?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
So there's a question here that I want Tosin to have a look at. Tosin, by the end of 2028, what are the measurable terms, in your view, what are the measurable outcomes that we should be looking for from PSB 2028? Right, when we look at specific data point, what should we be looking at?
All right, thank you very much. And thank you. Good morning, Governor. And good morning, Deputy Governors, and everybody in here. Congratulations to the Policy Department and every other department that participated in the PSB vision. I love metrics, and you know, probably this is one of the best questions that you could have asked. In my own opinion, if we want to take a look at the PSV vision 2028 and say what metrics should we attach to it and what sort of outcomes should we be driving at to call it a success, obviously the clear one is penetration metrics in terms of inclusion. I don't know what the latest numbers look like, but certainly it has been on an upward trend of the amount of Nigerians that now have access to digital financial systems. And clearly one of the major drivers has been, one, the accessibility. One, because it's now available purely digitally, like Director Jimo said, you can open your account on your phone. Two, the sheer presence geographically, where people can now have touch points for their money at agent locations everywhere else. Three, the cost that we have almost all brought down. And the cost is an important one because, I want to say that I dare say Nigeria has one of the cheapest payments in the world. And, we are cheap to the extent where many operators are now even become creative on how to run a sustainable organization at the levels of expenses that you pay on that. So please, let's balance the drive for cheap payments with sustainability. So, for example, the payment systems in Nigeria can be validated as one of the cheapest in the world. So cost is very important also. We continue on that trajectory. And also, we should also ensure that security, trust, customer service, and user experience. I said a lot there. Security and trust, people need to be able to easily have access to their money and trust that it is safe. And this is essentially in the resilient institutions that CBN will be building. And lastly, user experience and customer support, ensuring that customers don't have a reason to complain for their money. So the main metric we should be driving at is the penetration of the amount of customers that now have access to digital financial services. We can also find some secondary metrics. Some of those secondary metrics will interest consumer protection department. One is percentage complaining customers. That's one thing that we track a lot on our side. That number needs to be going down. The percentage of customers complaining per transaction needs to be going down. Also, I think maybe CBN should track NPS of people about the financial ecosystem, because NPS will show the general sentiment that the population has about the payment ecosystem. And if anything, I think it has been on an upward trajectory, personally. I know because we track ours and it's been on an upward trajectory and we're a subset of the population. I'm sure people will say the same. So
thank you. I wanted the second half of that question to be answered by Jeremy, because I suspected you will be focused on the consumer and the SME space. But Nigeria also has a public sector that is incredibly large and participates in our payment system. So can you expand that? What should we measure for the rest of the economy, especially the wholesale economy, including government?
Thank you. Good morning again, Mr. Governor and Deputy Governors, as stated, and distinguished members of this audience who are history makers today as Nigeria steps into its third iteration of transforming the economy, leveraging payment systems, the modernization of payment systems. Some of us have been in the trenches for about 20 years. This has been going on, and it's joyful that we can see the positive outcomes. When people talk about the revolution of payments in Nigeria, it is nice to know that it's not a product of a wish. Like you said earlier, people were working at the background. And someday we're going to have the role of honor of persons who actually worked. CBN has been at the forefront. And I was looking out for some other stakeholders who need to be brought on board more actively. Because at the end of the day, the end game of the transformation of the payment system is economic inclusion and growth. And there's some persons who need to be at the forefront of advancing this project. It can't be the CBN taking this to the world. We have done so much and the world knows so little about the contribution of Nigeria to the transformation of global payments. For the first time anywhere in the world, before anybody mentioned PSD2 or open banking, right here in Nigeria, we're able to achieve interbank balances on technology grown from home. So talking about the metrics, and I'm passionate about those kind of things, I will not be anything but a Nigerian until I die. The passion is not going to subside. Whatever we need to do to make Nigeria bigger and better than it is, we should do. So the first metric for me would be, how much does the world know about Nigeria's contribution to the transformation of global payments? Many success stories in Nigeria, nobody is talking about. We need to be desperate to let the world know. When it comes to payments, Nigeria is first world. We're not third world. And we need to acknowledge that and be proud of the things we've done. Nigerians in the room have made this happen, but nobody is telling the story. We've allowed the world to shape the narrative. And when they're talking about acts and cybersecurity, they forget that we actually led in payments. And we're also leading in cybersecurity. Many of the things that have happened there, many of the economies will not survive them. So that's the number one. We must tell our stories more actively. So there must be between now and 2028. It's a 30-month sprint. This is June 1, and it's a landmark date. By the time we're looking at December 2028, we must be able to say these are the things. And one of the suggestions, therefore, so it's not just a talk show, I would suggest we have a quarterly dashboard of NPSV 2028 that says for the remaining 8 quarters, this, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable. Number 2, measurable metrics. We must begin to track the number of persons with NIN who are now transacting digitally. And that's not difficult to do because that's a function of the growth in terms of inclusion. We've not done census in a while. So we can take BVN of those who are already banked as a proxy, but more importantly, we have the NIN. And that's a bigger set. Can we begin to track, therefore, how many persons with NIN have started transacting, because that's reflective of your data. And that's going to be tied to making available digital touch points. So we will need to be strategic the way stakeholders come together to make this vision a reality. We're talking about every Nigerian having access to digital transaction points. And one good thing is about making devices available. We need to measure, therefore, the number of devices that can support digital transactions, digital economic inclusion in the hands of Nigerians in the next 30 months. It must be active. And I'm going to take it on to the EVCNCC as well. And this is where the collaboration just goes beyond payments. When this whole thing started, people were struggling. What's the difference between banking and payments? Now we know. You don't need to be banked to pay. You don't have to. But now everything is converging. And now we're talking about telecoms. You could have had a phone and you were not transacting. And now the CBN has made it easier. Now you have that telcos can now have the PSB licenses. So we're seeing a convergence. So the third thing, therefore, would be the things we do with these digital touch points. What can people do with them? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about economic inclusion. To a large extent, we talk payments. Lastly, while Premier was talking about zero-rating things, we can't eat our cake and have it again. We're talking about commercial success. It can't be zero. Somebody must pay. We are accelerating payments at such a pace that if we're not careful, the cost will just keep ballooning. So there must be a balance. And that is why, just like government is taking education as a right, payments must be taken as a right. To the extent that you are encouraging innovation and you are putting us on the map. If we are able to make payments a national net revenue earner in Forex, then we'll get many other things done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will not be anything other than a Nigerian until the day I die. I think if we're worried about the inclusion and about development and impact, that kind of attitude from a commercial entity should make us calm down. I think a lot of us have interest beyond that. And you really set it up nicely for Dotun. But this problem was a difficult question. So I think you're too far away from me, so I have to punish you for that. All right. I mean, when I walked into this room, one of the things that crossed my mind was that almost everyone in this room would have used payment system in at least 2 different countries. And if they had been honest with themselves, they would have concluded that with the exception of a few countries like maybe China and 1 or 2 others, Nigeria is probably the best there is. We know that. But we face a problem, and the problem has been the challenge with cybersecurity and trust and how innovation in Nigeria may be outpacing the trust and security challenge. What do we need to do to close that gap? How can we close the gap so that we don't slow down innovation simply because the security and the fraud has gone too far ahead?
All right, thank you. And good morning, everyone. Good morning, Governor. Good morning, everyone here today. I think that, again, a big congratulations to the CBN for the achievement of this payment systems vision. Everywhere I go, I often say to people that the success that you see in Nigeria was foundational on the vision of the central bank. The fact that we established things like interoperability very early on in Nigeria allowed the systems to grow, allowed fintechs to grow, allowed banks to be interoperable, allowed innovations to thrive. If those things were not there from the outset, we will not have the success story that we have today. So kudos to the CBN for the good work that they have done. Secondly, the issue of cybersecurity has been a huge challenge for Nigeria. But over the last few years, we'll see that we're seeing that institutions have started getting better at addressing some of these challenges. I think that before now, we had been quite docile in our approach to addressing the cybersecurity challenges because technology was moving at a very fast pace. And our payment systems were not moving at that time at the same pace in terms of the security challenge. We're just innovating around what is possible on the technology side. We can do things on mobile, we can do it on web, we can do it on USSD, we can do that. We're not looking at the security challenges that came with the speed or the evolution of technology. But now with the CBN cybersecurity framework, which has been launched and circulated, I think that the industry starts coming to a point where we're holding ourselves to very, very high standards. One of the things that has not worked before now has been that though we were subject to regulatory audits, where the CBN and other regulators will come and check the payment systems and the banking systems, it's almost as if the banking systems and the payment system knew how to pass the audits without necessarily complying. You know, there's a way you can tick the box and everything is fine. And so the new approach of the CBN, where experts are coming to check your system and a regulatory cybersecurity regulations are clear, the standards are there, the resilience of the systems are being checked, that becomes the foundation for success tomorrow. So I'm actually not afraid as the way we were many years ago or a few years ago. I think that we're already on the right track. If these cybersecurity standards that have been implemented are executed well, like one of the panelists have said earlier on, then we will have no problem going forward. We just need to adhere to that standard, measure that we are keeping to that standard, and do it very well professionally.
Thank you. You're giving us some comfort. The Deputy Governor says that this is supposed to be a platform for regional integration. And if you observe India or China, once they dominated those spaces, they started to deploy their solutions in the neighboring countries and other countries. The question is, we have been at this and we've been by far the superior payment system on the continent for over a decade. Jeremy, what will it take? What will it take for this to go beyond just connecting Nigeria's markets to connecting Africa's market? What does it take for us to become the platform upon which the Africa trade would ride?
Thank you again. And I think that's one of the reasons I said the stakeholders in this room, we need to take ourselves more seriously. From my viewpoint, within the next 3 months, I think there should be a meeting with the Minister of Trade and Commerce to come up with how do we take the innovations and success stories of payments in Nigeria to Africa. And with all sense of responsibility to not be out of place to ask that Mr. President should lead that delegation. Of course, with the convener, the governor of the central bank. So it begins to feature on the dashboard of PSV 2028, sir. There's so much in here. And when I said earlier that Nigeria can actually be a net revenue earner from payments and payments technology, just look for 20 to showcase to the world. There was a time Nigeria was taking out what we used to call technical aid corps, and they were teachers to other African countries. Now it's a knowledge economy that by virtue of putting Nigerian technology, and this works, proven, in other countries as part of aid, there are many more things you can open up. So back home, since we're talking about global competitiveness through payments, you're going to be expanding the base of people who can work. Lawson was talking earlier about Tosin and trying to raise Nigerians who can feed the role. We have enough at this point. Let's take it out. We have overcapacity of payment technology. And you should then begin to think about why are VCs? What are their other thoughts? Nigeria is already a financial hub. We are the ones who need to give traction to it. So That visibility must happen. It must be on a timeline. We've got products that work, the CBN regulation, that's what everybody is talking about, cybersecurity, as is going to happen. Trust is not only home-based. And like I said, we've allowed the world for too long to control the narratives about and stamping us with some negatives. Payment technology and how it works securely is one way of reshaping that narrative. The things we've learned, when we take them out, will attract some more positives to Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just trying to get used to sitting on the high table with my governor on the low table. You are now sending me a message to the president. But on a serious note, the point you're making is that Nigerians are incredibly good at finding fault when they don't do well, but we are terrible at celebrating ourselves. And you're saying that that is not just to feel good, it's a commercial event. It is something that should actually generate growth. So thank you for that. Premier, if we fail to achieve interoperability regionally, globally, if it doesn't happen, what is the consequence? What would be the price to pay if we fail to achieve interoperability globally?
Thank you very much for that question. I worry about that. And I think I was with Dr. Aino in Accra, Ghana, and we had this talk by the side. And I like what Jeremy said. We need to control the payment rail, not just of West Africa, but of the African continent. And like everybody has agreed on this panel, we are the dominant force. I see that people come to us on the study tour. 25 African countries were in NIPS last year. A lot more are planning this year. But what I don't see is that rather than getting the Minister for Trade involved, we should, I think from the payment from the CBN, put together a payment export policy, which I think is something that we need to drive. We control a lot. And sometimes when I hear the CBNs, I was in Eswatini, and the CBN governors and deputy governors who were speaking there, and the kind of things they were lamenting over were quite shocking to me. And I told them, I said, sorry, we don't have this problem in Nigeria. Talk to Nigerian Central Bank and so on. So we talk about India, talk about China. I had an experience yesterday. I went on ChatGPT and I just looking at something around MPS. And when it popped up, I was shocked about the analysis of MPS compared to PIX, compared to China Union Pay, and so on. And I was alarmed. I said, how did this guy know what we have done already? And the value and the strong, excellent position it was ascribing to MPS that have not gone fully live. I mean, the EVC, I mean, it was two of us traveled to China, to India, and we sat down. MPCI told us in the room, oh, what are you guys doing here? We studied you guys, Nigeria and NIPS, to set up. I mean, you remember that conversation? We had to sign an MOU. And I mean, all of us sat down and said, hey, if we sign this MOU, what do we tell Nigerians we signed when we get back home? We could not sign because everything they were showcasing to us, we are more advanced than they do. Yeah. So if we lose that opportunity for interoperability, we'll blame ourselves. Everything will fail. This PSV we are launching, the MPS is live, so as if the MPS and the PSV is going together. It's based on open API and API economy being launched. That's why you hear me talk about zeroizing the transfer fees, because there are a lot more benefits out there. How is PIX zeroizing transfer fee? How is MPCI zeroizing transfer fee? How is China Union Pay zeroizing? Look across the whole world. There are more hidden benefits than the fee we are taking. And the bottom is that we need to suck in those 80% financially excluded people. Today, we have 488 million accounts, out of which 325 million are active. But if you deep down, looking at the BVN, the NIN analysis, how many Nigerians on the BVN is just about 70 million. NIN opening account also lower than that, right? So we need to suck in everybody. The device is one, the opportunities are there.
Let's take you back. What happens to us? What is the cost? What is the price that this country will pay if we don't achieve it?
The price is very simple. When you follow the payment rail, you are mining data. It can help production, help growth, and a lot of things. So if we lose that opportunity to another country, and I know some other countries are planning that, then you can, if you follow the money, you follow the trade. You understand what people are spending money on, and then you can drive that. So if that's a bigger cost for us.
So we don't just lose payment.
We also lose sovereignty.
We lose some level of sovereignty.
Goes with it, yes.
We lose the trade competitiveness. could affect our industrial
It will certainly
objectives.
affect it, yeah.
Thank you. Che, it looks like the only way this is going to happen is a significant amount of coordination. Who should lead the coordination? Is this a regulator issue or is this an industry challenge? Who should lead the coordination?
Okay, so the regulator, they've already laid the foundation. So it's a collective effort, collaboration. Everyone must get involved. It's nobody's, we're not going to leave it in the hands of the regulators, and the regulators will not also say, okay, the stakeholders, ecosystem, people should do that. Everyone has to work together. We have to work together to be able to achieve the results. So it's not anybody's goal. Just like the this PSV that we're launching. I was discussing with someone I met, and I was telling him that, oh, this is actually a very good initiative, and where we have to come together, because we did a lot of work. Coincidentally, I happen to be in the working group as well. So a lot of work, everybody, the entire ecosystem collaborated to do this. So no one is going to hold the regulator accountable that they just woke up and brought out something and launched. No, we took the decision, we worked on it, and we agreed, we came together and said, this is how we want to run.
So as an industry, it's clear that the regulators have clarity in terms of what they want.
Absolutely.
We need to have an industry voice that also works side by side with the regulator. So the industry needs to also speak in one voice.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Premier, you've heard. Dotun?
Sir Moderator, just to interject.
Yes. How many minutes more?
1 more minute. You get the idea.
Let me send a letter to my governor and appeal for 10 minutes to round up, because there are a couple of important questions I'll round up. And please, panelists, we'll round up with one statement each. Doctor, I'll give you 2 statements for this. What global model should we adopt, and what should we avoid? Just direct to the point.
All right. I'll say for me, I spent the last 3 weeks in China, for obvious reasons. But studying the payment systems in China, I did see a lot of parallels with what we have in Nigeria. And I think that the way that the Chinese have allowed their payment systems to run is a similar vision that we need to implement.
So we should look at the Chinese model.
We should look at the Chinese model.
Yeah, what should we avoid?
We should avoid, I think we should not cage the payment systems and the banking system. Okay. They should work collaboratively to achieve what will be the future of Nigeria. But I have to say this just before, on the Nigeria being a hub for West Africa, or at least for West Africa. This is really important. I think that we're at a point where if we don't lead that charge, we stand to lose so much more. The MSMEs in Nigeria, especially, would need to expand their foothold beyond where they are. And if we don't do that, that would be a big challenge.
Thank you. I don't want to give you that. I need to get one thing from Tosin. Tosin, since COVID, payment has grown 15 times faster than the real economy. Over the last 10 years, it's grown 10 times faster. What do we need to do to close this gap? How can we make sure that payment is not a standalone success story?
We need to layer credit on that. Payment is moving money, but it gives visibility into the flows of businesses and customers. Based on these flows, we have visibility of how you can give credit to businesses and customers in an easy manner, quick manner. And this, of course, we know credit is an engine for growth in every economy. And okay. All right, so we need to give credit to businesses using the payment flows.
No, thank you. Well, I guess this has been a good panel. I wish you had more time, but the people who took time to be here with us have other things that are equally important. The summary of it is that this is a race for survival for Nigeria. It's not just a race for the current system to thrive. It is to say that if we don't step out, we stand the risk of everything we've built over the last 2 decades amounting to nothing, because whichever system dominates will eventually wipe out the domestic system. And for us to do that, we have to first make sure that everyone can access payment, make devices available, reduce the cost of payment and make it zeroized where possible. And more importantly, we need to rebuild trust by protecting the system. Once the system is safe and protected, then we can achieve our objective. Thank you very much, and apologies for the extra minute. Thank you.
No need for the apology, we understand. We're so excited, but some people have to catch their flight back. So gentlemen and lady, please can you stand for a quick photograph so we can capture this image? Then we can definitely use that, what we can access quickly. And we're going to go straight now into goodwill messages. I'll be giving each of our speakers just 1 minute each, because we want to wrap up the session within the next few minutes. We want to say a big thank you to the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria for the honor of your presence here. This is most amazing. Thank you, gentlemen. Please, you can smile the PSV 2028 smile as you go back to your seat. Immediately, I would like to quickly call on the DG Sec, Dr. Ememontimi Agama, as he comes in to give a goodwill message for just 1 minute. Please put your hands together for him.
I've been asked to give a goodwill message for just 1 minute, and it's already 1 minute, so. But before all of that, I want to say thank you to my Egbon, the Central Bank Governor, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, of course, the Deputy Governors of Central Bank, and my brother, the Vice Chairman of NCC, Maida himself. It is indeed a very important time and opportunity to share the value of collaboration. Without payments, there cannot be delivery of securities. For us in the capital market is delivery versus payment. Delivery speaks to security, and payment means, having to pay the cash. It therefore means that there's no way we can exist properly without collaboration and working efficiently to make sure our system works. When we speak about the financial system, we speak about all of the regulators that are involved in it. There's no two ways about the fact that for efficiency to happen within our system and for us to attain the level of responsibility and being, the king of African payment system, we need to start talking together and speaking the same language. I had the privilege of being at the Harvard Business Law School just 3 weeks ago. And what were we speaking about? We're speaking about digitalization and payment system. I had the full honor of addressing the class to let them know that we are first among many all over the world. I also had the opportunity of being in Canada, where we were speaking about the RTGS. They were asking me, what does that mean? And that tells you clearly where we are in this whole rail. It speaks to the fact that we must begin to speak the way we should speak and tell our stories wherever we go. But before that happens, we all need to be properly educated around what we actually are doing. Because if only a few of us in this room actually know exactly what we are speaking to, then certainly we wouldn't have apostles and disciples to be able to spread the gospel. And that is why it's important. At this point, we need to all come out together to support the Central Bank of Nigeria, support the financial system, integrate with each other to be sure that we know exactly what we are doing, where we are going, and what we want to achieve. It is only by so doing we're going to be able to present Nigeria as one country, indivisible, and serving the nation and the people of this country to the best of our ability. We have a very, very short way to go, not a long way to go. That short way is dependent on how much we put ourselves together to achieving what we should achieve in this century. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I fully support the Payment System Vision 2028. I've always been part of it, and I'm happy at this point in time, as the Director General of SEC, I'm participating in this again to make sure that we achieve our vision together. God bless you all.
Thank you, Dr. Ememontimi. I know I must have given you on the run, but you understand time is of the essence. Please forgive me. Quickly, I want to recognize, just in person, Dr. Patrick Conte is the CEO of African FinTech Network and former governor, Central Bank of Sierra Leone. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you so very much for being here. A former governor of Sierra Leone. I'm very sure they are taking a lot of note, and then we're going back to where it happens. And so quickly, I would like to invite the EVC, NCC, Dr. Aminu Maidas, comes up to give his, let me make it 1.5 minute goodwill message, so that we can quickly run through the program. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, but I'd like to disappoint you. I'm going to take more than 1.5 minutes because my name has been called a few times, starting with yourself. First of all, to my team, when we were coming here, up until the point I was coming into the room, they were following me with a tie. And I told them, leave me alone. They said, you're coming to the central bank. I said, see, I'm coming here and I know there's somebody who won't even wear a suit. That's the MD of NIBS. So, you see, he didn't disappoint. And for me, I wanted to feel relaxed because a lot of the faces and people here are people that, prior to this role, I was in the trenches with. The directors, the CBN, and some of the bank MDs who were board members at NIBS, and even the DG, who was my chairman, I think, for less than a month before I moved on to the NCC. But Governor, permit me to reestablish protocol. The Governor, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, Deputy Governors, my brother, Mohamed Datijo, my chairman, Philip, and Deputy Governor Lamido, the DG of SEC, Dr. Agama, the MD, CEO of NIBS, representatives and heads of MDAs, members of the management team and staff of the Central Bank, the Working Group for the Nigerian Payment System Vision 2028, CEOs and industry stakeholders in the financial services sector. And I'll mention MD of EcoBank, Mr. Balaji Lawal, who held my hand when I first joined the NIBS board. That's something that I'm very grateful for. Members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to be here for the launch of the Nigeria Payment System Vision 2028 by the Central Bank of Nigeria. I must congratulate the bank for the forward-looking strategic roadmap for the country's digital payments ecosystem. Building on the foundations of PSV 2025, this new framework reflects the CBN's commitment to a modern, secure, inclusive, and resilient payment system that supports Nigeria's growing digital economy. But I almost also say that a lot of things have been mentioned by the panelists and in the goodwill message from Dr. Agama, but a few things stand out. We talk about trust, security, and growth. And I think one of the things that ties all of us together that we must not forget is the president's goal of building a $1 trillion economy. And I have to say and congratulate the CBN for laying the foundations towards achieving that goal. Today, the FX stability we have, the unification of the currency, is laying a foundation for all of the sectors. Recently, as acknowledged by the president, our own sector has also achieved stabilization, and this would not have been possible without the reforms of the central bank. So thank you once again. And I must also mention that some of the challenges we're facing today are different from what we faced in earlier versions of the payment vision. So I'm very glad and pleased that some of the pillars in this new vision reflect that. Today we are facing issues of fraud which cross sectors and cross borders that no single regulator alone can tackle. And in fact, no single government alone can tackle. Because sometimes when we deal with cases, you find out that some of the infrastructure used is not even in Nigeria. So you're trying to trace connectivity, but you find that you are exiting the borders of Nigeria. and you hit roadblocks, and you realize that you cannot move forward without reaching out to sister agencies and other arms of the government to rely on to solve some of these issues. So it's very encouraging, and it is really, really important and critical that as we move forward, not only in the payment sector, but in the entire economy, that collaboration has to be what guides us moving forward towards achieving that goal of $1 trillion economy. I'll respond to some of the panelists. So one step at a time, please, Premier. We are working on zero rating educational content, but I think zero rating transfers, I'll leave that to your sector, but zero rating the data, I think we're still a long way off that. But one of the things I think which is the root cause of the issue when we talk about the cost of data is that mobile connectivity, as we know it, and as the word mobile says, is for when you're mobile. What we really need to do and drive is get fiber connectivity into buildings, which we're working very hard at. Of course, you all know about the minister's 90,000 kilometer fiber project. Ourselves at NCC, we're at advanced stages of redefining the markets to create a wholesale market for broadband for fiber access, which would make it easier for smaller ISPs within the country, not only in Lagos and Abuja, because that's where you have about 80% of your ISPs, but in Maiduguri, in Kano, in Akwa Ibom, to make it easier for them to evacuate fiber capacity, which is already in the country, every nook and cranny of the country, so that people can get low-cost, reliable connectivity. And also when it comes to devices, that is still a big challenge. Over the past 2 years, I think 4G access has increased by about 10%. So we now have about 54% of Nigerians accessing mobile connections through 4G. But we actually have over 80% coverage of 4G, so you can see there's still a gap. But it is not only in the devices in the hands of people, but it is also in the devices we use as access to financial services, so the POSs, the ATMs. I remember about 2 years ago when we released our roadmap, I got a call from Tosin from MoneyPoint, almost having a heart attack that what are we doing? That most of his POS devices are still on the 3G connection. Well, I said, but you have to start work now because we're phasing out 3G, because the future has to be 4G and 5G. So on that note, I'd like to congratulate the central bank once again and the director, Musa Jimo, the Payment Systems Vision, and looking forward to excellent execution, because like the numerous times that Premier called my name, it was almost like in one of our internal operations meetings where he's backing down my neck. Why is availability less than 90%? But execution is key. And we'll measure ourselves like the DG in his speech mentioned and the panelists, not through what I call vanity metrics. We need to move away from saying we have 1 million transactions or we have 100 million people with access to lines. We need to start talking about GDP growth, because that is what all our work is about towards that $1 trillion economy vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you so very much, EVC. You know, I'm your friend this moment. Because of time, we want to quickly run through some of our goodwill messages. So please, I'd like to apologize beforehand that we may not be able to take every single one. We need to adjust the program because the governor has some other engagement, and then we have the unveiling that needs to be done so that we have today fully recorded. I think it's us, Deremi will mention the fact that today is June 1st, 2028, and that makes it easier for us to be able to, you know, express, sorry? 2020 what? Okay, I thought you guys were not listening. So today is June 1st, 2026. June 1st, 2028, we want to be telling a totally different story. And so please bear with us. We'll just quickly take Dr. Segun Aina, the Chairman, FinTech Association of Nigeria, for 1.45 seconds minute as he comes to share with us his goodwill message. Please put your hands together for Dr. Aina.
Mr. Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Kadoso, the Deputy Governors, DGSEC, EVC, NCC, Director of Payment System Policy, Central Bank, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you on behalf of the FinTech Association of Nigeria, FinTech companies and other institutions across 23 sectors. And of course, also the Africa FinTech Network, which is a network of FinTech associations in 48 African countries, of which I'm the president. And we have the CEO here, who also is a former regulator, a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. We are really very, very happy at what we are seeing today. And as a Nigerian myself, I'm really very, very delighted that I'm witnessing this. I was part of the team working with them, with the then Governor Governor Sanusi on the FSS 2020. And I recall when Premier and the MD of Sterling Bank were talking about the past. We're talking about checks, taking number of days and so on. And that's on the corporate side. On the retail side, it was a whole day affair to get money from the bank. You go to the bank, deposit your money, and then you take it, to go and collect your money, they give you tally, and then go away for about 3 hours and come back and collect the cash. And you take the cash to the person you are paying, the person you also take it probably to the same bank to go and pay. So the transaction does not end until the end of the day. But we have seen a lot of things that has happened, thanks to the central bank and the financial service regulator. And what we are seeing today is also something moving ahead into the future. So Nigeria's role in this journey extends far beyond our borders. As Africa's largest fintech and payment market, I'm always very proud of that when we see our other African brothers. Nigeria has the opportunity not only to transform its own financial ecosystem, but also to help shape the future of digital finance across continents. Across Africa, we are witnessing tremendous growth in digital payments. However, we also face common challenges. And this is very, very important. Businesses seeking to operate across multiple African markets often encounter different regulatory requirements, licensing frameworks, and compliance obligations. These barriers increase cost and slow innovation. This is why the Africa FinTech Network has been championing conversations around greater regulatory interoperability and FinTech license passporting across Africa. And we thank some of the unicorns that have been supporting this, like InterSwitch, Michelle has been supporting, Wave in other countries, but we want more of Nigerian FinTech companies to support this endeavor because it's for the benefit of Nigeria, because Nigeria has the largest number of participants. And I'm sure with what we are seeing today, we will get the support of the Central Bank of Nigeria to help assist in growing the Nigerian operations across other African countries through the support for the FinTech license passport, which have received the okay of, like African Development Bank, UNECA, Afreximbank, and so on and so forth. So let me just end by saying that as you look ahead, the next chapter of Africa payment story must be about both innovation and integration. We must create systems that allow businesses to scale more easily, consumers to transact more safely and affordably, and regulators to collaborate more effectively. I commend the Central Bank of Nigeria for its leadership. Thank you very much, Governor Kadoso, and for placing public trust at the center of this vision. Trust remains the foundation upon which every successful digital payment ecosystem is built. The FinTech Association of Nigeria and, of course, the Africa FinTech Network stands ready to work with the Central Bank of Nigeria, industry stakeholders, regional institutions, and development partners to help turn this vision into reality. Congratulations once again on this important milestone. We look forward to a future where Nigeria continues to lead the way in building a payments ecosystem that is secure, inclusive, innovative, and increasingly connected to the rest of Africa. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so very much, Doctor. It's always great to see how the vision started and where we are today. I think the thing that keeps running in my mind is when Mr. Premier said that he carried the computer on his head and was running towards CBN's gate. You know, that I wish somebody actually videoed that, you know, so that we could have it for authenticity. You know, just imagine tall Mr. Premier doing that. Why Mr. Jeremy is doing with the floppy disk. You know, this tells you the story of how some of these things has been. But ladies and gentlemen, while we are preparing for the unveiling and to have the governor come up, we're just trying to do one or two housekeeping affairs. We'd like to invite Mr. Bolaji Lawal, the MD EcoBank, to please come up and give his own goodwill message. EcoBank, certainly, with the big gorilla on the VI road, we see that is quite impressive. I hope that gorilla is PSV 2025 compliant, so that we're sure. Thank you very much, sir, for 2 minutes.
The governor, ladies and gentlemen, 3 words for us to think about: innovation, inclusion, and infrastructure. And I think we have to use this to use payments to deepen the economy for the greater good. And I believe that we can all do this. Thank you, and well done to the team.
Wow. So for this reason, I'm going to reopen my account in EcoBank. Because, I mean, this is swift business, real-time transaction. I mean, this is impressive. Mr. Bolaji Lawal, thank you very much. It's like you are seeing the fact that we can't keep the governor here for too long, and then you just went straight to the point. But still, it's still part of the whole essence of why we are gathered here, ladies and gentlemen. And we're coming into this session where we're going to have a keynote address, and that keynote address is going to be done by no other person who, as a matter of fact, I'll be more than honored to read his profile. But I don't want a situation, the way the governor is doing his head like this, is like, Stephen Lawson, will you behave yourself and just call me up? So please, can we put our hands together with a standing applause? The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, as he comes up to give his keynote address and then unveil the PSV 2028. Thank you very much, Mr. Governor.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Please sit down. Time has been fast spent, and I appreciate some of you here have other things to do, and I know DG Sec has a flight to catch. So I will just crave your indulgence to stand on existing protocols. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we unveil more than a payments strategy. We unveil a vision for how Nigerians will transact, trade, save, invest, and participate in an increasingly digital economy. Over the past 2 decades, Nigeria's payments ecosystem has evolved into one of the most dynamic and innovative in the world. From instant payments and digital adoption to fintech-led innovation, our progress has often set the pace on the continent and in several respects compares favorably with leading global markets. While this progress has not always been fully reflected in global narratives,
its impact on economic activity, financial inclusion, and system resilience is evidence across our economy. And this is a very important point. And I think it was caught by a number of the presentations, that yes, we can indeed beat our chest, and I doff my hats to the growth in fintechs and the several unicorns that we have who carry our flag on the African continent. But while this progress has not always been fully reflected in global narratives, and that's something we have to do something about. It is not enough, and I think MD Nibs said it very passionately, it is not enough that we have done all these great and wonderful things, but we need to tell the story. If we don't tell the story, my experience shows me that others will come and tell it for you, and in a way that you may not like. At a time when the speed, security, and reach of payments increasingly define the competitiveness of nations, Nigeria's experience demonstrates the value of sustained investment in innovation, infrastructure, and inclusion. And this is also a very important point. Sustained. Sustained. Because as we all know, this can be a very long and rocky journey. And there's always a tendency to start and stop, start and stop. But that's not the case with Central Bank, and that is the reason why we are actually here today, to show to the outside world that there's nothing that is going to stop us. The Payments System Vision 2028 builds on this strong foundation. It provides a strategic roadmap for the next phase of transformation and reflects our ambition to build a payments ecosystem that is secure, inclusive, resilient, and globally competitive. Before I proceed, let me acknowledge the insightful remarks delivered by the Director of Payments System Development Department. And ladies and gentlemen, they call him Doyen. It's not for want of finding a different name to call him. Doyen is a reflection of how long he has been in Central Bank. And when you see the presentation he made today, he didn't have a shred of paper in front of him. He was speaking from experience, from being there, and from deep knowledge as to how the system had developed over time. And of course, the comprehensive presentation by the Deputy Governor, Economic Policy, PhD. Together, they have outlined the key elements of PSV 2028 and the strategic priorities that will guide its implementation. As the details of this vision have already been presented this morning, the more critical question is what it means for Nigeria's economic future and our place in an increasingly digital global economy. And a number of things were said towards that. The more critical question of what it means for Nigeria's economic future and our place in an increasingly digital economy. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have this in tow, then it would have just been a waste of time. And I will say a few things about that to the end of my presentation. The global payments landscape is undergoing profound change. New technologies are reshaping how value is exchanged. Digital commerce is expanding rapidly. Cross-border transactions are becoming increasingly important. Expectations around speed, convenience, security, and interoperability continue to rise. In this environment, payments are no longer merely a means of transferring funds. They are platforms for innovation, enablers for inclusion, and critical infrastructure for economic growth. For Nigeria, efficient payment systems reduce the cost of doing business, improve productivity, strengthen transparency, support trade, and broaden participation in economic activity. In a modern economy, payment infrastructure is not simply a financial utility, it is a strategic asset. It is a strategic national asset. And that is why PSV 2028 matters. It is designed to ensure that Nigeria's payment ecosystem remains secure, resilient, inclusive, and globally competitive while supporting our broader economic aspirations. In other words, these go hand in hand. Payment system and economic aspirations go hand in hand. PSV 2028 is also an important component of the broader reform agenda that the central bank has pursued since 2023. By strengthening the efficiency, resilience, and international connectivity of our payments ecosystem, this vision will support ongoing efforts to stabilize the economy, facilitate trade and remittance flows, deepen investor confidence, and contribute to improvements in Nigeria's external and balance and payments position over time. As has been outlined, PSV 2028 provides a comprehensive framework for strengthening infrastructure, expanding inclusion, supporting innovation, enhancing resilience, and deepening integration with regional and global payment systems. At its core, however, the vision is anchored on a simple premise, which is that a modern payment system is indispensable to economic growth, financial inclusion, innovation, and national competitiveness. The vision is anchored on a simple premise, which is that a modern payment system is indispensable to economic growth, financial inclusion, innovation, and national competitiveness. Indispensable. We should never forget that. So the role that we all have in ensuring economic growth, financial inclusion, innovation, and national competitiveness, we all have a role to play in that. It's not sitting down and looking at another group and thinking it is their responsibility. It isn't. All the things that we all in this room have gathered together to do directly plug in to economic growth, financial inclusion, etc. It seeks to ensure that every Nigerian can participate meaningfully in the digital economy while positioning Nigeria to take advantage of opportunities arising from the African Continental Free Trade Area, expanding digital commerce, and increasingly interconnected markets. This is not merely about technology or transactions, and there's often a tendency for people to make the mistake that this is all it is about. It isn't. It is about opportunity by making it easier for business to send and receive payments seamlessly across Nigeria, Africa, and the world. We expand access to markets and unlock new possibilities for growth. Goes without saying, ladies and gentlemen, that the increasing fragmentation we're seeing world over today gives us no opportunity but to ensure that we do our own. And like was said earlier, Nigeria must lead. It must lead. For the entrepreneur in Aba, the trader in Zaria, the fashion designer in Ilesha, or the small business owner in Kano, efficient and interoperable payment systems can mean access to new markets, faster settlement of transactions, and greater participation in regional and global commerce. In this way, payments become a powerful tool for job creation, income growth, and poverty reduction. Statistics has it out there that one of the fastest ways to take a large number of people out of poverty is through an efficient payment system. It's through an efficient payment system. So let us not look at it lightly. Nigeria already occupies a position of leadership within Africa's payments landscape and has established itself as one of the world's most dynamic digital payments ecosystem. The significance of this position extends beyond the payments ecosystem itself. It creates opportunities to accelerate economic formalization, expand financial access, support trade and investment, and strengthen Nigeria's position within the regional and global economy. We have the scale, the talent, entrepreneurial capacity, and institutional foundations to build on these achievements. PSV 2028 provides a framework for translating these strengths into broader economic value and long-term national competitiveness. The Central Bank of Nigeria, I assure you, remains committed to providing the leadership and enabling environment necessary for this transformation. We will continue to promote innovation while safeguarding stability, strengthen oversight while encouraging competition, and work collaboratively with stakeholders to ensure that our payments ecosystem evolves in line with both global standards and national priorities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the success of PSV 2028 will not be measured by the quality of this document, and I think this has been said before. It will be measured by execution. The last thing we can do is launch a lovely document, have a great conversation, and come back here in another year or 2 years' time and discuss the same issues. Execution is key. It will be measured by execution, by ability to expand opportunity, strengthen trust, lower barriers to participation, and build a payments ecosystem that serves every Nigerian and supports the ambition of our economy. This vision therefore calls for sustained collaboration among government agencies, financial institutions, fintech companies, technical providers, development partners, academia, and users of payment systems. Its success is a shared responsibility. Indeed, the future of finance is being shaped by systems that are faster, smarter, more connected, and more inclusive than ever before. The countries that will thrive in this era will be those that invest in trusted, resilient, and forward-looking financial infrastructure. Nigeria has already demonstrated what is possible. PSB 2028 is our commitment to building on that foundation and ensuring that our payments ecosystem continues to support growth, innovation, inclusion, and prosperity for generations to come. The success of this vision will depend not only on the strength of its ideas, but on our collective commitment to implementation. I am confident that working together, we will deliver a payments ecosystem that meets the needs of today while positioning Nigeria for opportunities of tomorrow. Before I conclude, I wish to acknowledge the efforts of the Deputy Governor, Economic Policy, once again, the Payment System Policy Department, the special advisors, industry stakeholders, development partners, and those whose time, expertise, and commitment contributed to the development of this vision. In particular, the Committee of E-Business Industry Heads in the banks, the NDIC, SEC, NCC, NIMSI, EFINA, SANEF, PwC, KPMG, NIBS, and of course, fintechs, and the Card Association, Visa, MasterCard, Afrigo, Verve, Amex, PayAttitude. Thank you very much for your dedication and partnership. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I finally sign off, I want to challenge us here. I want to throw a challenge out here. Now, here we are. We've come to a stage where we all realize the importance of collaboration. This document is owned by all of us. It's not owned by the central bank. It's not owned by SEC. It's not owned by NDIC. Sure, central bank may have provided a platform, but in actual fact, it's owned by everybody. It's owned by the banks. It's owned by everybody. Now, something that had been said earlier, and I fully endorse that view, that we must work together to ensure that we execute. We have to work together to ensure that we execute. Ultimately, and it was said by one of the speakers, how is this going to impact on GDP? It's okay for us to have these lovely cliches, lovely words, but if we're not going to measure performance, then we will lose track. We must be able to bear in mind that there's a broader road of travel for outputs. As the federal government of Nigeria builds roads, schools, and hospitals, we here must also build the invisible roads that move money. And that is why the Nigeria's Payment System Vision 2028 is critical to our national prosperity. Things to bear in mind. Just bear them in mind. And I'm sure some people will take things home from what I am about to say, and perhaps will broaden it considerably. Let's bear in mind again where we headed to. The journey is to impact on the lives of the poor. That's part of it. That's part of it, and a major part of it. The journey is to lift people out of poverty, and the journey is to have an impact on GDP. Today, NIBS processes millions of instant payments every single day. And the majority of them, from what I gather, settle in less than 10 seconds. By 2028, our target is simple. Every Nigerian from Maiduguri to Brass will send and receive money faster than they can blink. Inclusion and not exclusion. In 2023, a very large number of Nigerian adults had access to financial services. Under Vision 2028, I would like to see this reaching 95% inclusion. That means 50 million more market women, farmers, and young people will have a bank account or wallet in their name with their NIN and BVN protecting them. Thirdly, cash should no longer be king. I was very dismayed, when I watched a program over Salah, where a good number of traders refused to take cards. Very dismayed. And I don't blame them. It's us I blame. We need to do a lot more work to build trust and to ensure that people have no doubt that they are dealing with a strong and reliable payment system. You see, it's not enough for individuals here to think, okay, I'm all right. Maybe my numbers are going up. It's more than that. Ultimately, it has to impact on the lives of people, on the lives of hundreds of millions of people. And these are low-hanging fruits. It can happen. It can happen. I would like to see a situation where we will reduce cash outside the banking system, and the people in MPD will be very happy about that because of the transmission mechanism, to less than 40% of money in circulation. With 10 million QR codes and tap to phone at every market, bus park, and farm gate, Nigerians will pay digitally, safely, and cheaply. Trust through technology. A payment system is only as strong as the trust people have in it. By 2028, we must commit to cutting fraud losses to less than 0.001%. of all transactions. With NIN, BVN linkage, and AI fraud detection, people's money must be safer in the digital system than under their mattress. Innovation for the next generation. The future is not just about sending money, it is about building. Through open banking, over 100 licensed APIs are now open. By 2028, Nigerian youth will launch the next global fintech unicorn right here from Lagos, Abuja, and Calabar, etc. So the existing ones, watch out. Using Nigerian data on Nigerian cause for Nigerian problems. Numbers don't lie. Last year alone, Nigeria moved trillions electronically. This is the power of our people when given the right tools. Vision 2028 is not a government project. It is a Nigerian project. Together, we will build a payment system that is fast, inclusive, secure, and proudly Nigerian. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. Why I crave your indulgence to please kindly wait behind because we're going straight into the unveiling. I would like to let you know that when I blinked, I got some alerts in my account. So I've already been existing in 2028 while waiting for the rest of you to join me. And indeed, it's the spirit of what is indispensable. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to now officially unveil and launch the MPSV 2028. But Mr. Governor, I'm very sure you don't want to do this alone. Will you like me to invite your deputy governors and of course the heads of the MDS seated on this table too? Please come and join the governor as he unveils this wonderful framework that is going to define our digital future. So sir, I'm going to hand over the mic to you while you take it up from there, and afterwards we have the photographs. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Director Juma. Well, to the glory of the Almighty God, and to the future well-being of all Nigerians, I have the honor and privilege of unveiling the Nigeria Payment System Vision 2028.
You want to say something? Whoa, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for this wonderful, wonderful unveiling of NPSV 2028. For some of us who have blinked and our account has been credited, we'd like to welcome you all into the year 2028. Use your imagination. And that's the spirit of what means to be indispensable, and we're working together collaboratively. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, put your hands together for the governor and those who have helped him to make sure that we've unveiled this. And the way the framework is rolling, I hope we are going to have it rolling till 2028, because this is the way the spirit of success actually happens. And so quickly, I understand he has an appointment. And then people know that this particular aspect of the program will be a moment where we have to capture some of these images. And this particular document is going to be available online for every one of us that are here registered. And of course, CBN is going to send that across. So please, let's quickly have a photo session, sir. We would like to have first the governor and the deputy governors to please kindly stand. And then while we house the head of the MDAs to hold on a moment. So let me have the governor and the deputy governors just standing close by here, okay, so that we can also capture. Don't take it away. Where are you taking? Is our property. All right. So thank you very much. Just a moment, gentlemen and ladies. Okay, that's fine enough. So we want to make sure we capture this moment fully, because we may not have the opportunity anymore. Understand that the governor has an appointment that he has to go for. So now that you gentlemen are here, let's just take this particular one. And then this is the governor, deputy governors, and the heads of those MDAs that has partnered with us. Why we ask the heads of the MDAs after this snapshot to please take their seats, while the governor and the deputy governors remain. And I will quickly call on number 3, which is the bank MDs present here. While the deputy governors remain, please, can I have the bank MDs present here to come up? MD Sterling Bank, MD EcoBank, I see, to please quickly come up for this picture. And I'd like the team of the Payment System Policy Department to please hold on. And the chairman of the working group to please be on cue while we have the bank MDs have this snapshot. You're welcome, sir. Please hold on a moment. We have one of my madams, the DMD of Sterling. Okay. Pardon me, Stanbic IPTC. Hold on, we still have more of them coming in so that we capture this moment. So you want us to hold the books. Okay, please bring the books for them to hold so that they know that it's true. I thought the big dummy was going to just fit into that. But please hold the books. It's your copy. You can go home with it. And then you have that as a matter of fact. Are we ready? Not yet. Oh, everybody has received their copy. The man is counting it like Naira and Kobo. Yeah? Don't you know we've gone in Naira way? All right, do we have everybody with a copy? Fantastic. I think we should have done that also. They're wondering why they can't. No, they have to give audit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please, can we have this moment captured? And this is the CBN governor, the deputy governors, and the MDs of banks who are definitely here. Okay, great. Can we have the CBN governor, deputy governor still remaining while we have the CBN directors to please kindly come up quickly? CBN directors here, please. CBN directors, if you're in the house, please kindly come up. I would like to recognize one of my guy at the top, Dr. Stanley Jacob. I see you. Thank you so very much. It's great to see you here in Abuja. Please, can I have the directors of CBN that are present here? Then afterwards, I want the CEOs and MDs of the payment service banks, forgive me, the payment service providers, and then the fintech. You know yourselves, but now we want the CBN directors, please. Quickly, the CBN governor has to leave for another urgent appointment. Please make sure your face is showing as your shoe is shining, because this image is going to go digital and it's going to make up our digital footprint. Are we ready? Photographers, are you guys ready? Where's my official photographer? Okay, please, you are the one that... please, can we have the book displayed? Can we have the... Madam Markia, please, can you hold up? Yeah, thank you very much. All right. Please smile, director, smile, because it's like the work was very plenty. And then you guys need to blink. All right, thank you very much. I would like to have the MDs and CEOs of payment service providers as well as fintech MDs here. Please quickly, let's come up. And then I would like the payment system policy department and chairman of those working meetings to please be on cue, because that's going to be the final piece. Please let me have the MD CEOs of the fintech payment service providers that are present here. Please make sure your face shows. After this, please let us have those associations, the CB Africa Fintech Network, Fintech NGR, SANEF, and the rest of them to please come in to have the snapshot. All right. Are we ready? Okay, please, can you smile the PSV 2028 smile? All right, so now let's have all of the associations with the president and chairman of CB. We have for Fintech NGR, as well as African Fintech Network. Quickly, the governor has to leave. Please, can we have all of you come up quickly? And then the last but not the least, after the panelists, I would like the working team from the PSB department. You know yourself, the chairman, to please come in to have this session captured. Please smile, other heads of associations, because it is a collaborative affair. Please, let's have way for the vice chair of CB. Let her face shine and her face show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you guys good? Okay, so please, let's have the panelists. The panelists that were at the stage, please come up quickly with the CBN governor. Let's have this. The CBN governor has to leave in the next 2 minutes. Please, quickly, the panelists. Please, the panelists, come quickly, panelists. And then finally, the working group, the PSB department team. Where's Chai? Please, quickly. Good to see you. Please watch your step. Then finally, we have the working group. And then we will have the closing remark by the Deputy Governor, Mr. Philip Ikeazo. And then we'll wrap up the session with the national prayer. And then call it a close. Lunch is going to be served upstairs on the first floor. So please, can we have the working group, the payment system policy department, and the working group, please, Chai, Gang, and the rest of the team, please, can you guys all come up? Thank you. Quickly, before the CBN governor leaves us, he has a very important appointment, and then he's going to be, and he wants to experience this to the final end. Please, can I have the working group, the chairman, and of course the team members who made this happen? Why I beckon on the Deputy Governor, Mr. Philip Ikeazo, to be on cue to give the closing remark, and then we'll wrap up this session. Ahmed, are you not among? Come and enter the picture. This has been a huge success, so congratulations. I see you, Dr. Niyarao. It's always great to see you, sir. Some of you come downstairs. Are we ready? If the CBN governor says we are ready, we are taking the picture. Sir, are we ready? Oga say we are ready. Aya, take the picture. Are we ready? Okay, after 3. 1, 2, 3. This is a very full one. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And I think this, as a matter of fact, wraps up the photo session. I want to say a big thank you. Why I invite the Deputy Governor Economic Policy, Mr. Philip Ikeazo, to come in to give the closing remark. And then we have the national prayer and conclude for the day. I understand the governor has somewhere is going to have to be. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, let's take our seats. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Hold on a moment. The governor has something to say.
Yeah. Sorry, I have to breach protocol. 1st of June is, as you have all seen, you've all been gathered here. It's a very memorable day, and it will continue to be one in the history of payments in this country. It will continue to be one. And to show how important this day is and will continue to be, I want us all to congratulate one amongst us, the DG FSS, Alhaji Yaguda, whose birthday it is today.
Happy birthday, sir. We would have sang happy birthday, but we imagine. How old are you now, sir? 32? Or 20 years? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Vice Chairman of CBC, I can't be a musician. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please can we take up our seats? The Deputy Governor, Mr. Dr. Philip Ikeazo is around, is on seats. Please, can we all take our seats while I hand over the microphone to the Deputy Governor, Mr. Philip Ikeazo, as he gives the closing remark, and then we have the national prayer and call it a day. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. The Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Deputy Governors, DG SEC, who may have escaped, and the EVC NCC, distinguished panelists, leaders of financial institutions and the fintech ecosystem, development partners, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. As we draw this landmark occasion to a close, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on what we have collectively achieved here today. This event has not only marked the formal launch of the Payments System Vision 2028, but it has also demonstrated the strength of collaboration, depth of expertise, and shared commitment that define the Nigerian financial ecosystem. The quality of insights shared, great ideas that came out from the panelists as we saw, some of which I'm sure will be brought to life soon. The richness of the discussions and the strong alignment across stakeholders clearly affirm one thing: Nigeria is ready for the next phase of payments transformation. So in closing recognition and appreciation, let me begin by expressing our profound appreciation to our governor, Mr. Olayemi Kadosho, for his visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to build a modern, resilient, and inclusive financial system. If you recall, during his Senate clearing, he talked about the focus on compliance. I think 2.5 years later, I think we can say strict compliance. But that compliance, he has made us understand, is the bedrock for growth. Would you believe that it's the same governor that has been driving for innovation on the payment ecosystem?
I think he deserves a round of applause. That's why we're here. So we have to have a solid foundation, solid guardrails, and build from there. My colleague, the Deputy Governor, Mohamed Sani Abdullahi, for his leadership and contributions to shaping the strategic direction of this vision. He put in a lot of work with his team. I'll also appreciate our latest Deputy Governor, Lamido Yuguda. Welcome to the team. I also want to recognize, I think Governor in his speech mentioned all the associations, the firms, the banks, the fintechs that form part of the working group. But I also want to especially recognize NCC and SEC for being here with us today and for the work that they put in. EBC, thank you very much. I want to also express sincere gratitude to our distinguished panelists and speakers. Our moderator, of course, Abu, and I come back a long way, and I expected no less, for their thoughtful contributions that have enriched this event and helped us translate the vision into actionable insight. Our stakeholders across banks, payment service providers, fintechs, governments, and whose presence here today reaffirms a shared ownership of this vision. Special recognition to the architects of PSV 2028. The working group has put in tremendous effort. The governor listed the names of all the members of the working group, and they're all here today. So can you give yourselves, and we'll give you a round of applause. Fantastic work. I would, of course, also especially like to recognize the DOYEN, the Director of Payments System Policy Department, for providing strong leadership and coordination to make today possible, and his entire team for their dedication. I have commended the working group, but I'd love to say again that I wish to commend that working group members whose expertise and commitment and collaborative spirit were instrumental to the development of PSV 2028. Looking ahead, as we live here today, let us remember that the launch of PSV 2028 is not the conclusion of a process, it's the beginning of a new phase of execution. The real measure of success will lie in how effectively we translate strategy into outcomes, collaborate across institutional boundaries, and consistently deliver to Nigerians and the broader economy. On a final note, we have laid a strong foundation, but the work ahead will define our impact. On behalf of the Central Bank of Nigeria, I thank you all for your participation and partnership and for your continued commitment. I wish you all safe travels and look forward to working with you. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you, sir. We are also thanking you for such a wonderful closing remark. There's no better way for us to come to the conclusion of this epoch-making event that, as a matter of fact, the Deputy Governor is going to remember being his birthday, in case anybody forgets. You know, every year we remember them. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great honor to have been the anchor for this wonderful event. I want to say a big thank you to the Payment System Policy Department under the leadership of Mr. Musa Jimoh, and of course, the Deputy Director, Mr. Chai Gang, who I've worked with, and the rest of the team. It has been amazing for me, and it's a great thing to see the faces. And of course, certainly, I want to say a big thank you to the Governor, which has been amazing for me. Sir, I didn't know you were 7 feet tall. You know, I watched you and I was like, oh my God, the newspapers don't actually reflect this well. But interestingly enough, I mean, it's not an easy task that you have, and I imagine the kinds of criticism, but you've made this very silent position by being here and being here to this point, because we know you have somewhere to be. We want to say a big thank you. And joining myself and the rest of us, please let's put our hands together for the Governor for honoring us with this wonderful presence and doing so well. And you can be rest assured, sir, that before you leave, I will take my picture with you, because I have a loan I want to come to CBN for. You know, and you have seen that I'm very much compliant with PSV 2028. Of course, I've blinked and received. You know, but I want to say a big thank you, sir, for the honor. And of course, the deputy governors who have done well, the head of the MDAs, every one of you who have traveled. I didn't need to say much more. Mr. Philip Ike as well has actually said all that needs to be said. My name remains Stephen Ipalabo Lawson. It's been a great honor. At this point, I'm going to call on my technical team to please give us the cue for the national prayer as a way to officially close today's event. But before we do that, remember, an empty stomach is not the best way to leave this place. So we have lunch served upstairs, the first floor. Make sure you eat before you leave here. If not, the governor is going to be on a 30-day fast. And you want the man to maintain his shape. Please, lunch is served upstairs, first floor, courtesy of Central Bank. I want to say a big thank you. Right now, team, are we ready for the national prayer? Why I ask every one of us to please be upstanding as we officially close with the national prayer of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Hip, hip, hip. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, please be mindful of your personal items as you leave so that we all go upstairs to have lunch. Thank you, and God bless you. Over to